Today, folks, we are taking a look at the biggest ransomware, the largest hack pretty much in Las Vegas history. Back in the day, you learned how to count cards, baby. They figured it out. They break your legs. They kick you out of the casino. But this is something unlike any of us have ever seen before. And I want to talk about how it's materially impacting the stock because in all reality, it's not, which is kind of blowing my mind. We're going to see how MGM is dealing with it versus Caesars. And then I want to talk about the broader market because we are getting a bit of a relief rally today. And Canada's market is actually outpacing the US market this week, and I'm going to explain to you why. So that's a conversation to appreciate. As always, hit that like button because if you are going to an MGM resort this week, this is likely what you're seeing on the ground floor, and it is quite mind-boggling that all of these machines are connected to one server. It's not like back in the day where all the machines were independent, and I'm kind of blown away that one little hack can take all of this down, and not just this. We're going to figure out how many other things are being hacked. This comes down to like how your phone can be hacked and they can get access to everything. Like if they know a few of your security questions, they call into the phone company, they pretend to be you, and then they get access to your phone, your SIN numbers, they replace it all, and then they basically go in and start replacing your passwords because everybody uses their phone for two-step authentication, right? And that's kind of how they hack these casinos. They went in through the concierge. I don't know exactly what happened. There's been a few leaked details, but because MGM doesn't have to file with the SEC is coming up with new regulations that if stuff like this happens, they'll have to disclose everything. But right now, MGM is just kind of bearing this. They're covering it up. And take a look at their stock right now because I'm kind of blown away that the stock's up 25% and it's only dropped like 4% on this news. Not nearly as materially impacting as I think most people would expect it to be. And Caesars, on the other hand, is up this week. It's not actually down on this news, and that's for very good reason because these two companies took very different approaches. Now, these are multi-billion-dollar corporations, right? We're not talking about small fish to fry here. And this hacker group, I mean, they're going to walk away with a retirement amount of capital. This is probably like one of those things that, I mean, they're probably doing it through a crypto exchange. Like that's how they're asking for the ransom. I don't know if they're going to be able to funnel that out into cash or like workable money, but my God, if they pull this off, this is movie worthy stuff. This is like out of Mr. Robot. But MGM Resorts said the cyber attack could have material effects on the company. So let's see how MGM is kind of managing this right now, because if we scroll down, one of the most intriguing things is the company's corporate email, restaurant reservations, and hotel booking system remain offline as a result of the attack, as do digital room keys. So how are people even operating these resorts right now? This is probably costing them millions of dollars a day, like an astronomical amount of money, and no one really knows what's going on. The FBI told CNBC on Monday that it is monitoring the ongoing situation. The SEC's new cyber disclosure rules will not go into effect until the end of the year, so basically they're not obligated to provide any information to the SEC, and they're taking a vast different approach from Caesars. I mean, Caesars just said, hey, you know what? We'll chase the money, we'll follow them down, we'll break their legs later. I'm sure it's not like the mob days, so I mean, they probably don't even care. This is probably just a blimp on their radar, just multi-billion-dollar industry, right? So they paid out $15 million. They negotiated down, which I'm sure that the hackers were like, oh, you're going to give us $15 million instead of 30? Oh, we're totally down for that. The cybercrime demanded $30 million in ransom from Caesars, but the company ultimately agreed to pay about half that, sources said. The cost will be partially mitigated by Caesars cyber insurance policy, which honestly, as most people know, when hacks happen to large businesses, they typically can write off that money as an expense to the business. And on top of that, obviously, they're going to look into it. They'll get the FBI to deal with it, and they'll just go on as business as usual. They'll obviously see where the hack came through. They'll get a bunch more security teams to come in, and they'll patch any of those issues. Although members of the group may be less experienced and younger than many of the established multifaceted extortion and ransomware groups, they are a serious threat to larger companies in the United States. And what's very intriguing is they call themselves the UNC 3944, or Roasted Octopus, or Zero Octopus, or whatever, was also linked not only to the MGM attacks as mentioned, but they were connected to including Cloudflare, Okta, Twilio. This company is building out a retirement fund, and they know that they have a limited time to pull it off. As mentioned, you can only do this once, you know. I mean, as soon as you do it to one big company, the word gets out, and every company that's in the area, all these casinos, are all going to fix the patches and resolve the issues that led to this kind of hack. And yeah, they're going hardcore, baby. They're going to take what they can while they can. This is unbelievably fascinating. So I'll pass that question off to you. Where do you think this ends for these guys? So putting that aside, just taking a brief look into the market today, we are getting somewhat of a relief rally, not as much in the tech sector as we are in some other sectors like energy, financials, that are really driving up the lower half of the market. If you are Canadian, you're loving this. Banks are rallying like crazy. Enbridge is up 4.5%. That's driving the TSX up 2.2% this week, which is super awesome, right? Because it's outpacing the S&P for for once. But the S&P isn't being driven by tech like it usually is after that Apple event. People not very excited. Energy again, Exxon is up 3.9%. Amazon, Tesla doing pretty well here, but the S&P really only this week is up about 1.2%. And we're kind of stuck again in the gulag. We ain't going anywhere yet. I did a video yesterday. Dividends might be the only return for a little while. And if you're buying these dips up, you are excited, because if you've been buying the dips all year, you're probably starting to see some material gains. But from an all-time high gain, we're just not there in the broader indices. And I don't think we get there, at least until we start seeing the end of the interest rate cycle. As mentioned, even if we are in a recession, which I think we're probably in a mild recession according to the last GDP data here in Canada, we get one more quarter of negative GDP. Hey, it's an official recession. But typically the market finds the bottom long before recessions even announced. So don't take that into consideration to be buying stocks. Just keep cost averaging. I'm taking a look at my favorite dividend ETFs here. I mean, look at SCHD. This one is basically done nothing. I wouldn't say nothing because of the dividend, but it's just been flat. This is like the longest period without performance we've seen in some of these stocks in a while. VDY up nicely this week with those bank concentrations, but again, not really doing a whole lot. And again, VOO here, obviously kind of playing in line. But if you look at these other stocks like SCHD or VDY, there's less volatility to the dividend stocks, more volatility to VOO, but we're still kind of in the same trend. We haven't come close to anywhere near all time. So I really hope you're collecting some dividends, you're reinvesting, just taking a look at the markets this week. And I'd love to know what you think in that comment section below.